The ancient civilizations really invented swords that were way too advanced for their time. Each one stands out in the field of ancient warfare, and these are the real blades that show just how advanced the skills of early blacksmiths were, even before modern weapons arrived. Today, join us as we discuss the 10 oldest types of swords and blades in the world. But before we start, if you're new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always be updated with videos like this. Number 10. The Naoto sword. The Naoto sword was created in the late Bronze Age, about 1200 before Common Era. It is one of the most influential blade designs in ancient history. It originated in Emesania and soon spread across the Mediterranean and Central Europe. It was used for many centuries, even as technology shifted from bronze to iron. Archaeological finds in Greece, Italy, Germany, and Austria prove the wide distribution and long lifespan of the sword. The sword is known for its leaf-shaped blade, prominent midrib, and bronze construction. The midrib gives rigidity to the blade, while the edges remain thin and sharp. Many surviving examples are 62 feet 5 inches long, suitable for slashing and thrusting. The handle is usually made from a bronze tang with holes, where wood, horn, or even bone grips can be attached. Some versions for higher status are decorated with a bronze hilt or have a finely polished surface. The earlier Bronze Age swords had a weakness at the junction of the hilt and blade, where the tang could break or bend. This was improved in newer swords by using a longer integrated tang and a stronger blade shape. Metallurgical studies on excavated samples show a deliberate choice of bronze with 10–12% tin to achieve both hardness and some flexibility. These alloys were not experimental and were the result of many generations of knowledge in metalwork. The spread of swords is clear, and when the late Bronze Age collapsed around 1200 before Common Era, many warrior groups migrated and interacted with distant places, bringing with them the design of the sword. Italian smiths started making their own version, influenced by Central European knife-field and Hallstatt cultures. Around 1900 before Common Era, when iron became more available, the design was reused with a new metal, demonstrating its effectiveness. The sword appears in many artworks, including late Bronze Age pottery and small figurines from the Messenian site. And at Calvary Leaf, all of them show the distinctive leaf-shaped blade. This matches the archaeological evidence and shows that it was not just a weapon of war, but also a symbol of status. Number 9. The Celtic Latin sword. The Celtic Latin sword, named after the archaeological site at Lake Neuchâtel, Switzerland, is one of the most distinctive weapons of the European Iron Age. It was made between the 5th and 1st centuries before Common Era. It was found in France, Switzerland, Germany, Austria, Britain, and Ireland. It features a long, narrow iron blade and often an ornate scabbard. The usual length of the sword is 70 to 85 cm, but some exceed 90 cm. The straight, double-edged blade is ideal for slashing from horseback or quick combat. Many also feature pattern welding, where iron layers are forged to strengthen the blade. This technique predates its common use in early medieval Europe, showing the advanced skill of the Celts. The strongest feature of the swords is the scabbard. Dozens of scabbards unearthed from rivers, bogs, and graves have very detailed decorations using engraving and inlay techniques. Spirals, curves, vegetal scrolls, tresses, and geometric patterns are hallmarks of the Latin artistic style. Some swords have hilts made from organic materials like wood, horn, or bone, most of which are damaged or decayed. Nevertheless, metal fittings such as pommel caps, guard plates, and rivets still remain in sufficient quantity to prove how they were made. In some well-preserved examples from Britain and France, you can see the ergonomic shaping of the handle, which shows an understanding of hand mechanics and balance. Numerous Latin swords have been found in rivers like the Thames and Marne, indicating ritual disposal. Others come from warrior burials along with a shield of bat. This kind of context shows that swords had symbolic, social, and martial significance. Although sometimes ancient Greek and Roman writers criticized Celtic swords as being easy to bend, metallurgical studies show that many swords were intentionally forged with a flexible spine and a hardened edge. They used an early differential heat treatment to make a blade that could withstand battle impacts without breaking. Number 8. Egyptian Khopesh. The Khopesh is one of the most well-known and unique weapons of ancient Egypt, dating back to 1800 before Common Era and remaining in use until the New Kingdom around 1070 before Common Era. It merged features of an axe and sword. More than 200 real examples have been found, along with many depictions in reliefs and tomb paintings that provide a clear record of its design. It is curved like a sickle similar to the Khopesh, and typically 50-60 cm long. The outer edge of the curve is used for slashing, while the inner curve acts as a hook that can catch shields, arms, or even weapons. Early versions were bronze, cast in molds, and sharpened at the edges. From the late New Kingdom onward, there was an iron version. This shows the gradual adoption of ironworking technology in Egypt. Khopesh construction differs for battle and ceremony. Functional weapons have a thick spine for rigidity and tapering edges for slashing. Many also have a tang design for a secure grip. These attach with rivets, and some high-status versions have elaborate decorations. Archaeological finds show the Khopesh was used by Egyptians and neighboring cultures like the Canaanites and early Israelites. Artifacts from Lachish and Megiddo closely resemble Egyptian ones, suggesting significant trade or acquisition. Although the Khopesh was prominent, it gradually vanished from Egypt's arsenal at the start of the Iron Age. The changes in warfare tactics, including the use of longer straight swords and better armor, made it less practical in the following centuries. 7. Roman Gladius Hispanensis. The Roman Gladius Hispanensis is the earliest form of the Roman Gladius, and one of the most historically significant swords ever made. It was introduced in the 3rd century before Common Era based on the blades used by the Iberian tribe during the war between Rome and the Iberian Peninsula. Archaeological finds in Spain prove its origin and unique characteristics. The Romans' adaptation of the gladius design became a turning point in ancient close combat tactics. It usually measures 60 to 70 cm in length and has a straight, double-edged blade. What set it apart from earlier Roman gladius swords was the slight waist or narrow middle and the pointed tip, which was designed for deep and thrusting attacks. Metallurgical analysis shows that many early gladius swords had a hardened cutting edge and a more flexible core, proof of intentional heat treatment. The handle was crafted from organic materials like bone, wood, or antler, and attached to the tang with rivets. The surviving scabbard fittings unearthed in Spain and other parts of the Roman Empire have bronze or iron frames with decorated lockets, and they seem to have geometric or motifs that match the craftsmanship of the Iberian tribes. The sword was commonly paired with the larger rectangular scutum shield, which allowed soldiers to deliver powerful strikes from behind the shield wall. Historian Polybius and Livy described Roman soldiers using a short stabbing motion in tight formation, an approach that gave the legions a significant advantage over opponents who relied more on slashing swords. Examples from Caipa and other military sites also show consistent blade length and shape, indicating standardized production. The Gladius Hispanensis was the main Roman sword until the 1st century before Common Era. When did it evolve into the Mainz and Pompeii styles? Although later sword types became shorter and more uniform, the Hispanensis's main features were a rigid blade, optimized thrusting point, and compact length. It is still the basis of Roman sword design. 6. Chinese bronze Jian. The Chinese bronze Jian from the Warring States period is among the most advanced bronze swords ever crafted. Numerous examples from Henan, Hubei, and Hebei tombs remain in excellent condition thanks to the bronze's composition and burial environment. Its clean, straight profile and balanced double edge make it an iconic weapon. The single-handed version usually measures 40 to 55 centimeters in length, although some ceremonial blades exceed 60 centimeters. It was made using a composite mold and then cold hammered, and it is sharpened to have a strong cutting edge. Bronze alloy analysis shows that the blades have a high tin content. Many exceed the 15% ratio, which gives exceptional hardness. Some swords have intentional differential casting. The bronze edges are harder, while the core is tougher, but slightly softer to prevent breaking. One of the most famous examples is the Sword of Guggen, discovered in 1965 in Hubei province. Although it is not unique in form, its pristine condition and microstructure complexity provide important knowledge about the skills of metallurgists at that time. Here you can see the heightened Bronze Age, patterned inlay on the surface, and excellent corrosion resistance due to deliberate alloying choices. This kind of characteristic can also be seen to varying degrees in many excavated swords, showing that advanced craftsmanship was widespread and not isolated. The straight blade and pointed tip are perfect for thrusting, while the sharp edges allow for effective slashes. The Chinese bronze Jian handle typically has a guard, grip, and pommel made of bronze, wood, or bone. Many also have geometric patterns or inscriptions that show who owns the sword or which workshop it was made in. Besides its use in battle, the Jian was also a status symbol for aristocrats. Nobles were often buried with elaborately decorated blades that had turquoise, jade, or lacquered wood inlays. Although the popularity of the bronze Jian declined after the Qin and Tang dynasties introduced iron and steel swords, which were more durable, the Jian has remained important in the culture. In the end, it became a symbol of scholarly virtue and martial refinement in later Chinese traditions. Number 5. Greek Scyphos. The scyphos, used from the 8th to 4th century before Common Era in archaic to classical Greece, is among the most well-known and unique ancient Greek weapons. It is known for its leaf-shaped blade and was commonly used as a secondary weapon by hoplites to complement their spears. Many archaeological finds from Greece, Italy, and the wider Mediterranean, along with depictions on pottery, sculpture, and armor, provide historians with detailed information about its construction. Blade length is typically 40-60 cm, and its most well-known feature is the wide midsection that gradually tapers towards the handle and the tip. It offers excellent cutting ability, and the tapered tip stays strong for thrusting. Usually the handle is made from organic material such as bone, wood, or ivory, which is attached to the tang. Because organic material is rarely preserved, most Scyphos artifacts only have the blade remaining, but the guard and pommel fittings made of bronze or iron are still often found. In pottery scenes from the 6th and 5th centuries before Common Era, hoplites are often seen with a scyphos on their left side, ready to draw it when close combat begins, or when their spear is broken. This isn't the phalanx's main weapon, but it's crucial when the formation breaks and close combat begins. The leaf-shaped profile isn't unique to Greece. Similar blades existed in Bronze Age Europe and the Near East, but the Greek Kopis is a highly refined Iron Age version. Its balance and cutting efficiency make it a standout weapon in the study of ancient arms. By the 4th century before Common Era, longer straight swords such as the Kopis and Machaira gained popularity, especially among the cavalry, but the Kopis continued to be used until the Hellenistic period. Today, it is recognized as one of the most iconic sword designs of the Asian Greek world. Number 4. Falcata. The Iberian falcata is among the most distinctive ancient Western Mediterranean weapons. It began with the Iberian tribes in present-day Spain and Portugal around the 5th century before Common Era. It has a forward-curving, single-edged blade, optimized for powerful chopping and slashing. Its typical length is about 40 to 60 centimeters. Its most distinctive feature is the inward curve near the handle, which follows the forward sweep toward the heavy, downward-angled grip. It focuses the force on the point of impact. That's why it's excellent for slicing. Many blades have a thick spine that gradually tapers to a single edge, providing durability without being heavy. Iberian smiths use pattern welding and lamination. They combined iron with different carbon content to create a blade that is hard yet flexible. Some blades have a groove or fuller to make the sword lighter without sacrificing its strength. Some high-status examples feature silver inlays, engraved motifs, or animal-shaped heels like horses or birds, displaying fine craftsmanship and symbolism. The handle of the falcata is usually enclosed. It curves inward to form a hook pommel. This safeguards the grip and keeps the sword from slipping during strong strikes. Many are made of iron with decorative bronze or silver coverings, and the organic grip material is rarely preserved. Many ornate examples have been found in aristocratic tombs with spears, shields, and horse gear. The falcata appears in Iberian sculptures and reliefs at Osuna and Fortuna, showing warriors holding curved blades matching its shape. Several Roman writers, such as Nalibi and Polybius, noted the Iberian sword's remarkable ability to cut through shields and armor better than other weapons of that era. Though possibly exaggerated, studies show the Iberian falcata was exceptionally well forged. The Romans adopted some Iberian forging techniques, but the particular curved design was replaced with straight Roman swords like the Gladius and Spada. Still, the falcata is among the most striking and technically advanced swords of the ancient world. Number 3, the Warabite II. The Warabite II is an early Japanese sword from the late Yayoi to early Kofun period, roughly the 3rd to 5th century Common Era. It was named for its handle's shape, which looks like the curved front of a wabi fern, and it is often excavated from burial mounds in Hoshio and Kyosho. These swords are a representation of the traditional stage from earlier bronze weapons to the straight shoki, which later influenced the katana. The typical length of Warabite is 40 to 55 cm with a straight or slightly curved blade, single-edged, and a wide base that gradually tapers towards the tip. Earlier examples were iron, made with simple forging. However, the later version shows more advanced metallurgical techniques, including folded construction and localized hardening, which are early forms of techniques that became central to Japanese swordsmithing. The strongest handle end finishes in a curved flourish resembling a fern shoot. It's part of the iron tang, not attached separately. Since organic wrappings rarely survive, most remaining heels are just bare iron. There are often grooves or heel transparallel to reduce weight without sacrificing strength. Many excavated specimens are richly decorated with inlaid silver, bronze fittings, or engraved designs. You can also see some influences from China and Korea, especially in the early straight-bladed iron swords that were imported or adapted from the mainland. However, it's clear the wabi had local innovations, notably in the hilt design and gradual blade experimentation with cold batchol. This foreshadows the rise of the curved cabal resort, which dominated Japanese warfare in later centuries. This Warabite vanished by the 6th century as swordsmiths adopted standard choke and tachi forms. Still, it's a key artifact in Japanese sword evolution, with clean lines, a unique handle, and a transitional forging method. Visually unique and historically significant, it clearly leads to the most famous Japanese swords. Number 2, Russian Akinakes. The Persian Akinakes is highly distinctive. Annoying Persian Empire. A curved sword or large dagger typically carried by nobles, officers, and the royal guard. Excavations in Prosopol, Susa, and other Caucasus and Central Asia sites have revealed many examples, so researchers understand how this weapon was made and used. The blade is typically 30-50 cm long, double-edged, straight, and has a midrib for strength. The earlier examples were made of iron using simple forging techniques, while the later specimens had more complex constructions. Includes laminated blades and hardened edges. The reinforced tip makes it effective for close-range thrusting. Many surviving hilts feature trilobate or trilob pommels and short guards that curve slightly toward the blade. The handles of Persian arkanase could be made of iron, bronze, or organic materials such as wood or bone. In status examples, the scabbard fitting is lavishly decorated with gold, silver, or inlays. In the relief at Pipoli, Persian nobles can be seen carrying swords hanging from their belts on their right sides. This is an unusual position because most cultures wear their swords on the left. This shows the symbolic role of the weapon, not just for fighting in war, but also ceremonial, a sign of rank. This weapon isn't the infantry's main choice, but is typically used by cavalry or royal attendants. Since personal combat relied on archery and cavalry shock tactics, this acted as a backup weapon when the bow or spear was unusable. The scabbard was typically ornate, crafted from bronze or iron with decorative lockets or patterns, and featured a belt loop or ring matching those shown in palace reliefs. The design probably came from Caucasus in Central Asia before the Persians adopted it. It faded after the empire fell. Its iconic and visually striking form is still preserved, compact, elegantly crafted, and clearly connected to Persian identity. Number 1. Wolf Burtzard. The Viking wolf Burtzard is one of the most famous weapons of the early medieval period, from Kasham up to the 11th century Common Era. Over 170 examples or fragments have been found in Scandinavia, Germany, Finland, the Baltic states, and Russia. The swords are identified by inscriptions on the blade, showing the owner's name or a worship tradition. All known examples are authenticated archaeological finds. Burtzard belongs to the wider family of Carolingian and Viking H double-edged swords. Most of them are 85 to 90 centimeters long with a broad tapered blade and some fullers to reduce weight. What makes it unique is the consistently high quality of the steel. Metallurgical analysis reveals many are made from crucible steel, which is superior to the bloomery steel common in Europe then. Crucible steel is produced by melting iron with carbon under controlled conditions. That's why it becomes a pure metal capable of holding a sharp edge. Tests on some Olbert's blade reveal its carbon content matches that of later medieval and early modern steel. With minimal slag inclusion and high homogeneity, it resists breakage and deformation better than typical Viking swords, which often needed pattern welding to offset varying iron quality. The inscription on the sword varies, and scholars believe that the original Olbert was a master swordsmith or workshop in the Frankish Empire, and it was imitated by craftsmen to promote their own blades. The quality difference between real crucible steel and imitations is clear. The hilts follow the typical Viking H form, with a short straight guard, a lobed or trilobate pommel, and a wooden grip wrapped in leather or textile. Some scabbards preserved in waterlogged conditions are wooden, lined with wool and leather covered. The Olbert sword's distribution indicates it is a prestige weapon. It is frequently found in status graves with a shield, spear, and ornate mounts, and sometimes in rivers from ritual deposition. And although there are some legends on the internet, there is no evidence that it was advanced beyond their time. It was the finest sword in early medieval Europe, crafted with exceptional skill from superior imported steel.